Hey folks, let's talk about buyer's mentality right now and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending March the 5th, 2023. So when I talk about buyer's mentality, what I mean is, what's the buyer's mindset? What are they thinking? What's on their mind? And I in a little while going to get into the numbers. I'm going to talk about average sold price, median price. We're going to talk about months of inventory and really crunch the numbers. However, how a buyer reacts to the situation, in my opinion, is really the most important factor in whether prices go up, prices go down, whether it's a strong market, it's a balanced market, it's a seller's market, it's a buyer's market, whatever the case may be. It really boils down to the buyer's mentality. You can say that, oh yeah, but interest rates go up, buyers can afford less, so they stop buying. That's true until they start buying again. And let's talk about recent history. At the peak last year, buyers were lining up to overpay. As soon as we got into March and interest rates, the Bank of Canada started announcing interest rate hikes, all of a sudden, no more lineups, no more multiple offers. Now, for sure there were a few going on still, but it's like somebody flipped the switch, or let me say this way, off on the real estate market, and buyers, where there used to be many showing up for open houses, showing up for multiple offer night, just stopped. Where did they all go? There's no way that a quarter point or half a point of interest rate all of a sudden wiped out the buyer pool. It's their mentality. They decided, they're looking at interest rates, they're looking at all the headlines, they're not feeling comfortable, but they saw a bit of prices going down and they just backed off. What's going to happen with prices was their attitude. Looking to see how low will prices go. Well, throughout the summer, prices were pretty steady. Throughout the fall, prices pretty steady. And buyers slowly started coming back in. Fast forward to now, 2023. Interest rates, for sure, are much higher than what they were previous, just after the peak last year. They're much higher than they were in the summer of 2022. Buyers didn't jump back in there. But now, mentally, they're kind of comfortable. Or let me not even say comfortable. I don't even know what the word to use here, but they've adjusted to the new normal. They've waited in their minds long enough. They've seen that prices really aren't coming down further. I'm not predicting the future, but this is what buyers actually physically saw when it came to home prices. They didn't change that much through the summer, fall, and winter. Interest rates are higher. Mentally, they've adjusted to the new normal, like I just said, and so they're back. And they're back. They're strong. They're aggressive. They're back into the market. And interest rates kind of seem stable right now for the moment anyways. So buyers have come back. It's really all about buyer mentality. How do they feel? And I can tell you, working when we from our listings, we're seeing more and more buyers showing up and they're ready to buy. Working with buyers, the buyers we're speaking with, the calls that we're getting, they're ready to buy. When we book showings to take our buyer clients to see properties, we can see the slots are taken up for showing times during the day. And when we show up, there's often somebody before us that's just leaving as we're arriving. And while we're still into the house, the last few minutes before we leave, other buyers are showing up to have a look. They've come back to the market. We're seeing this also on many offer nights. There's 5, 10, 15, 20 offers sometimes on properties. It's buyer mentality. That's the single most important aspect or criteria if prices are going to go up and prices are going to go down. And yes, interest rates for sure makes a huge difference. Scarcity, whether there's lots of listings or not, makes a difference. And competition, all that for between buyers makes a difference. But how does it affect buyer mentality is really the big question. And it's the buyer's attitude that are going to affect prices. And we could measure everything except buyer mentality. We see the byproduct of it. Lots of buyers showing up on offer night, few buyers showing up on offer night. Property selling quick and fast, property sitting on the market. All that is a byproduct of what's the buyer feeling, what's the buyer thinking. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you enjoy the content, subscribe. Let's get into the numbers. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you. This way I'll know ahead of time and I'll make sure my schedule's organized so we can talk about whatever's on your mind. Buyer mentality, I was talking about it before the intro song. Just a couple more words on that. FOMO, fear of missing out, that's a version of buyer mentality. Buyers feel they got to compete because they're just not going to get this, or if we don't buy now, it's going to be out of reach, or whatever the case may be. That's just buyer mentality. And buyers are feeling pretty good about the situation right now. Whether you agree with that or not is irrelevant. What's relevant is what's happening in the market due to buyers showing up and not enough properties being there. That's what's relevant, and that's the single most important factor when it comes to which direction our price is going. Let's get into the numbers. Now, normally I'll talk about my weekly numbers, but since March is completely in the history books now, let's analyze month by month first, and then we'll get into the weekly numbers. So I have here for the City of Toronto, only detached properties we're looking at here. I've got sales, I got average sold prices. The last full month is March 2023 that just passed, and I'm going all the way back, highlighted in black, March 2019. So sales for March 2023, March that just passed, 666 detached properties were sold. Now, January, February, March, sales are going up each month, kind of what we expect, right? And if we look back, the last time we did 666 or fewer sales in 1 week, we have to go back to March 2019 where we did the same, 666. So we're going back 4 years. All the years after March 2019, we did more sales than 666. But let's see if we could spot a trend or a pattern. Let's try to figure out what's normal. What can we expect for the spring market coming up now? Well, if we look at last year, January, February, March, sales went up just like is happening right now. But then April and May, the spring, sales dropped. The previous year, and last year we could say, hey, that's when interest rates all of a sudden started climbing. It's true, that's what happened, and sales went down. So the prior year, for 2021, January, February, March, sales went up, and then boom, for the spring, nothing. Sales went down. We didn't get the spring market that everybody keeps talking about, but we haven't seen a proper spring market. Well, again, what's proper, right? So the previous year, for 2020, we really can't even talk about it. January, February, March, sales were going up, and then that's when we fell off a cliff. That's the first time with the World Health Crisis that we were told to stay home. So we really can't talk about 2020, completely crazy stuff going on there. And then we go to 2019. January, February, March, sales kept increasing. And look, April, May sales went even higher, and then they started coming down in the summer, which prior to 2019, this is what was happening almost every year. That's kind of what we expect. Leading up into the spring, sales keep going up, and then they kind of come down a bit and cool off in the hot summer months. That's what was normal. It seems now for 2 years, the new normal is really not having a spring market. Let's see what happens this year. Average sold price for March for detached properties across the city of Toronto, $1,708,000. $1,708,000 is 11% lower than where the average sold price was a year ago. If we got ideas that, hey, the market's going to come down 20%, 30%, whatever the case, whatever some people are thinking, well, let's look here. We have to come down 26% to get to March 2019 prices. If we come down 3% more, we'll be, well, actually, we need to, since we're down 11, we need to go 12% to get the last year prices. But last year was higher than the previous year. We need to come down 14% to get to 2020 prices. That's March this year compared to multiple years. You decide where your target is, but right now, prices seem to be heading upwards. Here's months of inventory for March 2023. 1.5 months of inventory is where we're sitting at. That's quite low. If we look at March last year, then April, May, June, July, months of inventory was going up. That was the spring market. The opposite of what we normally, or going back 4 years ago, normally what we'd expect in a spring market. We don't expect it to be going up. We expect it to be getting busier, more active. But last year wasn't the case. This year, months of inventory has been coming down. Is it going to continue to go down? Is the spring going to be more active, more aggressive than what we're used to for the last couple of years? Or is it going to be like it was years before? Let's see. But right now we're sitting at 1.5 months of inventory. And that's the city of Toronto when you look at it on a month-by-month basis. We already know what's happening after March, because when we break Toronto down on a weekly basis, we can see what's going on. We're already into April 5th. So here's a summary. Detached, towns and semis, and condos for average sold price. The spread between townhouses and semis is starting to increase there a bit. Here's detached market. 195 detached properties were sold for week ending April the 5th. So those sales have been going up, have been increasing for the last few weeks now. The amount of properties selling at $2 million or more has also been increased. We were as low as 21, then 41. Last week, 52 detached properties were sold at $2 million or more in the city of Toronto. And average sold price went up a little bit more to $1,793,000. $1,793,000 is 10% lower than where the average sold price was a year ago. The median price is 13% lower than where the median price was a year ago. The dotted line here is the 4-week moving average. It's pretty clear. Look, average sold price was going up. Then it looked like, and I was announcing it here for about 3-4 weeks, it looked like we were coming down, and now it's starting to go up again. And that's also median price, not as pronounced on the way down, but it kind of went up, flattened out, and kind of looks like it's starting to go up again following the average sold price trend. When it comes to sales, of the 195 that sold, 59% sold at list price or more, and the percentage selling at list price or more has been increasing. So more and more properties, more and more competition, more and more properties selling at list price or more. Compared to last year, if we look at the sales This is the closest we've been in a long time to doing the kind of sales we were doing a year ago. And it's not because this year we're doing so much better. And although sales have been increasing this year, it's because this time last year we were heading down in sales. That's when the rate announcements started increasing, buyers backed off, sales, prices, everything. It's at this time that we really started the downtrend. Listings, still way off the pace from where we were listing last year. So sales are pretty close, listings way off the pace, but months of inventory sitting at 1 month of inventory. That's extremely, extremely low. When I spoke earlier about Toronto for the month and I said it's 1.5, that was averaging the month out. If we look at it closer on a weekly basis, we're sitting at 1 month of inventory, with 14 being the average days on market. That's Toronto as a whole. Let's look at Toronto by neighborhood. So here's a summary of Toronto as a whole. The amount of property selling at list price or more is 59%. Months of inventory is 1 as a whole. Let's look at which neighborhoods are outperforming the overall average. Rexdale, Downsview area, months of inventory 0.8. Etobicoke, months of inventory 0.9, below the 1 for the whole city average. The amount of property selling at list price or more, 65%, outperforming all of Toronto. Going to the east, the Scarborough, 72% of properties are selling at list price or more. Months of inventory, 0.5. It's half of what the Toronto average is. East York, Riverdale, Beaches area, 76% of the properties selling at list price or more. Months of inventory, 0.9. So West Toronto and East Toronto are the most competitive parts of Toronto right now, with the highest percentage selling at list price or more and the lowest months of inventory. Semis, let's take a close look at semis here. Sorry, I skipped a slide here. Here's semis. 57 semi-detaches were sold. 11 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price came down a bit to $1,208,000. $1,208,000 is 20% lower than where prices were a year ago, and the median price of $1,105,000 is 21% lower than where it was a year ago. The detached market is not as far off over year-over-year percentages as the semi-detached market is. And when we look at the 4-week moving average for average price and for median price, looks like prices were going up, but for the last 4 or 5 weeks they've been kind of coming down a bit. Months of inventory, however, sitting at 0.7. That's extremely low. 68% of the semis that sold, and 57 semi-detaches were sold. 68% sold at list price or more. This is extremely low months of inventory, 0.7. Here's townhouses. We never do that many freehold townhouse sales. 17 were sold. 6 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price climbed a bit to $1,374,000. 1,374. The average sold price is 6% lower than a year ago. The median price, however, way off the mark, 20% lower. And similar, you look at the 4-week moving average, looks like prices were going up, but over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, kind of either flattening out or starting to come down a bit. Months of inventory sitting at 0.9. Only 17 were sold, 77% sold at list price or more. Let's take a close look at condos. I'm going to start off with the monthly comparison and then get into the weekly. If we look at March 23rd for month ending March 2023, 1,410 condos were sold. If we look back to when have we sold the same or less, we've got to go back 3 years to March 2020, where just under 1,400 condos were sold. And similar to the detached market, well, last year, January, February, March, sales were going up and then they shot down. Again, sales were going up, then they shot down. What's going to happen this year? Because we're following so far the same pattern. Sales are higher, higher, higher. What's the spring market gonna do for us? Average sold price, $733,000, which is 12% lower than where we were a year ago. If we kind of come back, if we drop another 18%, we'll be at March 2019 prices. Months of inventory for condos sitting at 1.9. The condo market is not as competitive, not as aggressive as the detached market is right now. So months of inventory for condos for March is sitting at 1.9, but just in 3 months, January, February, March, it's come down quite a bit, very aggressively. Here's now the condo market broken down by week. So for week ending April 5th, 318 condos were sold. Looking back, 318, we've got to go back to a year ago to see the same kind of sales. 23 of those condos sold at $1 million or more. Sales, generally speaking, has been increasing since the beginning of the year. Sales has been increasing. Kind of looks like though prices has been coming down over the same period. Average sold price now sitting at $712,000. $712,000 is 11% lower than where the average sold price was a year ago. The median price of $657,000 is 10% lower than where it was a year ago. So the average sold price for condos looks like it was going up and now gradually starting to come down a little bit. The median price kind of seems like it's balanced out, maybe even starting to go up a little bit. Sales, 318 were sold, 40%. We've been holding steady at 40% now for a few weeks. 40% selling at list price or more. 547 were listed, and months of inventory has been continuing the downtrend, now sitting at 1.5 months of inventory. Here's a summary of all the months of inventories. You know, I've got balanced market in the middle. Balanced market is between 4 to 6 months of inventory. As we approach a balanced market, it'll start to feel like a balanced market long before we're in a balanced market. But you should really get that idea of a balanced market out of your head because we're nowhere near a balanced market. If anybody's talking to you about a buyer's market, no chance. Right now, we're nowhere near that. We are very much in a seller's market, and it's an aggressive seller's market. Months of inventories are extremely low. 1 month, 0.7, 0.9. The highest months of inventory is condos at 1.5, and it's trending down. This is the market, folks. This is what's happening out there. A lot of you don't want to believe it. There's people that can't understand it. It doesn't matter. This is what it is right now. I don't know. Nobody knows what the future is going to hold, but prices, generally speaking, are trending upwards. Months of inventory are trending downwards. The market is becoming more competitive. What comes to mind when I read these is, wow, you better be working. If you're looking to buy or sell, it's a smart idea to be working with somebody, with a realtor that can really help you navigate. And from the chart of Toronto that breaks down the different neighborhoods, different things are happening in the different neighborhoods. They're not all reacting the same way. Who you hire matters. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.